So welcome Tim.
How many of you in the room have actually used Surrey? Or, yeah, a few hands going up, yeah, the Android assistant, yeah. What about using Amazon's Alexa? Anybody got that? Oh yeah, quite a few, show of hands, okay. CarPlay from Apple, those ones as well? Only a few. Anyway, you're not in a small club. Microsoft recently announced that they knew that they had 133 million users of the Cortana digital assistant, and Google recently announced, and depending on who you listen to and the two employees, it's either 20% or 25% of all Google searches on mobile devices and on their mobile app are now done by voice. So this is a really, really significant thing. What voice search is doing is it's not simply about the interface of asking the question, it's about how the information is coming back. And what's happening is the assistant is going to one or maybe a few results. If you're driving a car, even if Siri throws back 3 results, it only reads out the top one. And that's quite significant because that means that you're bypassing the traditional results page on Google and you're being taken straight through to actually delivery of information. And that's significant if you're a business and you want to get found, because you need to then focus about being on the top. So it's not really a surprise that the use of voice search is mostly in the home. And when we're talking about voice search, we're really talking about 2 groups of devices. We're talking about your mobiles, your tablets and your desktops, which have a voice search function activated. And then we have what's called voice first devices, which only have a voice interface. So that's Amazon's Echo device using Alexa and Google Home device, which will be available in the UK within days. So those are home-based devices, and as you can see, used a lot in the home, these voice searches. And on the go and in the car, that's a natural thing, isn't it, for you to have that convenience factor. You're driving, hey Siri, where's the nearest petrol station? I think a lot of us might have done that. Or where is there somewhere to get a coffee when you're walking between meetings? For me and working with some of our clients, I find the number at the bottom about 3%, only 3% using voice search. I find that really interesting because I think that that's just because we're a bit embarrassed about shouting things out in an open plan office. Hey Siri, how do I do this or whatever? And I think once people start asking digital assistants out loud in a work scenario, people will suddenly find, yeah, it's normal. They're just asking the computer. And I think we're going to see the utilisation in the workplace and therefore business-to-business searches as well becoming increasingly important, and that number's going to be shooting up. So I've got to keep this brief because the main attraction's far more interesting than me. But I wanted to cover off some of the challenges. And I think the biggest one is the no-screen results. So if it's a voice-first device like Amazon Echo, there is no screen. So you only get what you get told back. And that is really, really significant. Because if you do search marketing for people and we talk about, yes, well, you know, you're number 6 on Google now for this result, or you're number 2 on Google for this result. Well, being number 2 has never been worse than on a voice-only device, because you don't get read out. It doesn't matter. This is really, really fundamental. And even if it's on a device with a screen, like a tablet or a mobile, you've got to think, if the person's driving, they're not going to look down the screen, are they? They're going to get what's going to be read out to them. And then I mentioned the speed of talking, and that means that you get longer structures. So when we look at the data about how people use voice search, much longer sentence structures. And they are actually sentences. People look at their device or their digital assistants like Siri, and they actually refer to them in a way like they're an entity, so they ask real questions, which is really interesting. So again, if you're looking for your business to be found, how can you actually tie together question-based search into your content on your website or other digital properties? So you're being found for those question-based search now. It's not just a matter of looking for 2 or 3 keywords in a phrase, that kind of thing. And what people may or may not be aware of is the super intelligent artificial intelligence that goes on behind things like Google Assistant and Cortana, is the fact that they retain the context of the search. So when you ask for something, it will remember that. So when you ask the next question, it will use what you've already asked for to help answer the question, which is really great if you're a consumer. It makes a natural flow, a natural conversational flow almost. But when it comes to being a business and you're trying to actually engage with people online, you maybe have to think about how you're going to connect your content to other content in steps. It also throws up some really interesting questions if you change your mind with searching. So if you search for Starbucks with Surrey, and then you decide, oh no, I don't want Starbucks, I want a Cafe Nero, because it's got the word cafe in it, it keeps telling you, no, there's a Starbucks, I've already told you there's a Starbucks. So that retained context is actually a very powerful thing in these results. Talked about getting coffees, getting petrol. It's lots of local searches. It's not exclusively local searches, but it's lots of local searches, as you would expect. Mobile devices and location-based devices. So if you're thinking about, okay, how are we going to get found for what we do, you need to start thinking about how you're going to tie up your products and services with your locations, if you've got multiple locations or your singular location, so that these assistants can actually make the relation between what you do and where you are, if it's looking for geographical information. And that's a really important thing. The other thing is, when it comes to things like local information, you've got to understand, where's it getting it from? Because it might not be getting it from your website, and there's certain directories and certain places that different tools are accessing different information. So if you're not on there, you're not going to get found by voice search, because you just simply don't exist in their mind. 3 years' time, 50% of searches will be done by voice. That's an incredible proportion. People were really slow to embrace mobile search, but this is appearing in no time at all in comparison to mobile search. And I think something which is going to be really interesting is direct to transaction. So people with an Alexa know that they can say to Alexa, order me X, and Amazon will happily ship it to them. But these voice assistants are very good at going to direct transaction. You can ask Alexa, get me a 14-inch pepperoni pizza. And do you know what it will do? It will send the order straight to Domino's, because that's what the agreement that they've got is. So you can go from sitting there in your living room and you say, order me a 14-inch pepperoni pizza, and it will go straight through to transaction. No results page, no comparing different companies, no browsing, bang, you're there. And consumers, they're busy, and they're kind of liking this reduction in their choices. We'll let the digital assistant make the choices. If you're a business, you've got to be really aware of that. And there's probably some of you in the room going, but in order for somebody to buy our product, they always have to log in, and you won't be able to enter your username and password, will you, with Alexa? Well, I'm afraid to say that voice for authentication is already here. So if you've got any HSBC customers in the room, you can actually get your telephone banking access through your voice patterns. So if you imagine now, you can authenticate yourself just by talking. All of a sudden that opens up a plethora of what you can do. So more ordering, more interaction, the digital assistant knows it's you. So it really is an exciting time. It's a very, very challenging time, particularly for smaller, medium-sized businesses, or maybe those brands that don't have the capabilities. But it's certainly something that we're finding very interesting. And I think it's a very small part of the disruption and the Internet of Things that you've all come to listen to Martin talk about. So, no further ado, I will sign off. I'll hand over to Martin. If there are any questions, then I'm going to be hanging around, and the guys, there's some of the Innovation Visual team, put your hands up, Innovation Visual team over there. Feel free to ask any of us questions at the end, because I want to give Martin the maximum amount of time to do his talk. So. I hope you enjoyed that.